Coming home. What a chapter. What a chapter it was. What's going on, guys? It is Jazz here, back with another video, and today we are on the last chapter for Fazbear Friday, number 4, Step Closer, and we are going to be summarizing the chapter, if I can even get it to it, Coming Home. What to say about this chapter? I think first of all, the ending was really nice. I would have to say the ending is definitely very nice. I think this chapter, it's a lot of storytelling. I mean, these are basically, these are stories that are, that we're reading, but like, it's more how like, I'll explain later on, but dude, whenever I read that last page, just tears just dropped in my face, and it's just like, wow. Okay, so coming home. Let's get it. So the main characters in this chapter is Susie and Samantha. They are sisters, and they live in like this farmhouse with a tree that they have called Oliver. And Oliver is like the tree that I said, and basically Susie, the younger sister, that's what she calls the tree. So we also, on the first page, get like some details about, the house, like its origins, and it was owned by their great-great-great-grandmother, like over 150 years ago. So basically, that land in that tree is that much old. So Susie and Samantha are in the car with their mom, and then they all get out because they went to the grocery store. But then over times during the book, Susie's mom freezes up, which it will explain why later in the book. I'm not going to say it right now, but she freezes up, and it scares Susie like that because she doesn't like, how her mom is like that. So eventually the mom unfreezes and gets back to normal, and she goes into the house with Samantha and Susie, and Susie and Samantha are in the bedroom together, playing with their dolls, because that's one of their favorite hobbies to do, is that they love dolls, and they like playing with them. So Susie is trying to talk to Samantha, but for some reason Samantha isn't talking to Susie, which is very odd. And then Susie asks Samantha, it's like, hey, do you want my dolls to be in the choir? And then Samantha just gets like absolutely, like she just gets like very, very upset. So Samantha and Susie's mom comes to Samantha, she's like, hey, what's wrong? And she's like, I have a feeling like something bad is going on. And but Susie didn't want to tell like her mother the reason why, so they just hug it out. So we also get some more information about what the house looks like, and I'm gonna go ahead and read that to you guys. Long ago, their house was a farmhouse that sat in the middle of lots of land. But as the years went by and all those great grandmas grew from little girls to old women, the family had to sell part of the land, so said Susie's mom. Eventually, Susie's grandma had sold the last of the land to someone called a developer, and the developer built a big subdivision that surrounded the house. The new houses were built to look a little like the old farmhouse. Susie's mom said that they were all Victorian, but the new houses didn't have personalities of the old house. The new ones were all in serious gray-like colors and tan and cream. Susie's house had a lot of fun colors. Mainly it was yellow, but the trim, and there was a lot of trim, was purple, blue, pink, gray, orange, and white. Susie's mom called the trim gingerbread, which made no sense to Susie because the trim wasn't made of cookies, although she wished it was. So it kind of like describes, what their house, I guess, used to be like, or like their neighborhood or something like that. So Samantha meets with some kids from her class. They're all mean to her because they all think that she's super serious about everything, but it seems like that Susie actually, not Susie, but Samantha actually has a reason to be, all serious. So it's the nighttime, and Susie and Samantha get ready for bed. Susie asks if Samantha was still awake, but she didn't answer, which again, to Susie, that was really odd. It's like, hey, why are you not answering me? So Susie is still trying to get to Samantha, but then whenever, like, I think So Susie is still trying to talk to Samantha, so she basically gives up and then she tries to go to sleep, but then all of a sudden she hears a thump, which I cannot wait to tell you. So she asks Samantha, it's like, hey, you heard that too, but she didn't respond. We get a little conversation between Jeannie, who is actually, I'll wait. Susie's mom, who is actually named Patricia, talks to this person about Jeannie, or talks to this person called Jeannie, and they're basically having like a conversation. It's like, okay, everything's gonna get a lot better. It just has to take time, and you'll be able to find yourself. Okay, so this next part is, okay, so basically Susie goes, she heads back to bed. She heads back to bed with Samantha, but then she hears the thud again, and she decides to go and check it out. But I'm gonna read you guys this, because this is interesting. The footsteps paused. Susie listened. She heard nothing at all. She reached for the doorknob and she opened the door. She opened the door in increments, 2 inches, 6 inches, a foot. She took a deep breath, stepped around the door, and looked up. She waited, like she always did, every night. Frightening, familiar, persistent. Susie didn't cringe or tremble or jump back, even though it would have been reasonable for her to do any of all those things. Instead, she said, "It's time to go back already?" Chica held out her yellow hand. Her mouth didn't move. Susie knew Chica wouldn't answer because Chica didn't talk to her. Susie turned away from the man-sized animatronic chick standing in front of her. She looked back up the stairs, longing, but longing didn't do any good. Susie looked back to the animatronic chick, ignoring the gaping metal mouth with all the teeth. Susie focused on Chica's bright yellow body and the big white bib hanging around Chica's neck, the one that said, "Let's eat." Then she looked at the cupcake Chica held. Susie thought the cupcake was scarier than Chica. It had eyes and 2 buck teeth, and 1 candle stood up straight from the middle of it. Susie didn't know what the candle was for. 1 day, 1 year, 1 child. Letting Chica take her hand, Susie walked away from her house. Every step made her feel like less herself. By the time she passed Oliver's still falling leaves, she was lost. Okay. Whenever I read that part, my heart was like dropping, and I was just like, what the heck? So Samantha and Patricia, Susie and Samantha's mom, they go to check the door and they see it is wide open. So they all go back to bed, and then Samantha, just stayed awake and was just crying for the rest of the night. But what's interesting about this is that Patricia says to Samantha, and she said, "I know you miss her. I miss her too." You'll see why in a second. So we also get information that the dad's office has a secret room, which is pretty interesting, but this is something that you guys want to remember. Remember that the dad has a secret room, but it doesn't say what it's for yet. So keep that in mind. So Patricia and Jeannie are, still talking about it, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say now Jeannie is like a therapist who, helps people, if they're having like a difficult time. And let me just read this for you guys, because this is it's pretty interesting indeed. "That's not a problem. She was empathetic, child with a vivid imagination, which is why she was so easily lured. Patricia didn't recognize her own voice, normally soft. It was now as hard as rough as Oliver's bark. I should have discouraged her from flights of fancy. I should have." "Stop it," Jeannie shifted to Patricia's face. "Not all of the murdered children were like Susie. You don't know that if it had been different, if she had a different kind of child, you've been keeping to try and find reasons to blame yourself." Patricia looked down. "I hated that place," she whispered. "It always seemed creepy to me, but Susie loved it." So, you guys are seeing right now, Freddy Fazbear's murder events, the Freddy Fazbear murder case, and it says Susie was part of it. And I'm just gonna read you guys this short little part real quick. Daughter was murdered by a serial killer. She was lured to her death in a place where she should have been safe. There, we dug it up. Again, feel better? Serial killer, William Afton. So whenever I read that part, it really, really got me interested. Because if you guys remember from the FNAF 6 minigame, you know, with like, not the minigame, but like the cutscene with like all the graves, you know, with Jeremy, Fitz, I think Susie was one of them. I'm actually gonna have to make sure and put it on the video, but I'm pretty sure Susie was one of them. But also the thing is, the book universe is different to the game universe. Completely two different, universes. So we have the book lore, game lore, two different things. So it kind of gets that, it just has a little link in there, So the next day, Susie and this one kid, Drew, who was one of the kids that came over to the house, with that group of people who thought that Samantha, was serious about things. And he apologizes, about, Susie's death because, Samantha is struggling with that. And this is what he said. Do you ever see her? Samantha went still. She felt the blood rush from her face, and she gripped the rake so hard it hurt. Drew dropped his scooter and took several steps into the yard. Then he opened his mouth, and words tumbled out so fast they piled up on each other. I'm not trying to be mean, and I'm not trying to make fun of. Really, it's just that I believe in ghosts, and I think people who die can stay around if they want. I had an uncle who died, and I saw him the night he died, and then he came back for a couple years after that. He was waiting for my dad to forgive him for something. I think that ghosts hang around if they want something, So I was just asking, and I didn't mean to upset you. Oh, okay. So, ghosts that stay longer. Interesting. So after that, Susie goes back to the house, and then, she starts to think about, do you think what he said was true? Maybe? I'm not sure. The next couple of pages, it basically describes one of the, fights that Susie and Samantha had, and it was about a doll named Gretchen. Now Gretchen is a doll that their mom got them whenever, Susie was alive, and basically Gretchen was favored between the two girls. So they would always trade her back and forth. Susie would have her for one, a couple minutes, then Samantha the other, basically so on and so forth. And Susie got mad at Samantha, and she was like, okay, you know what? I had enough. So she hit her one place, and then Samantha found her, and then Susie was like, okay, that's enough. So I'm going to basically go and hide Susie, not hide Susie, but hide Gretchen, and you'll see why. You'll So yeah, guys, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it now, but Susie wants Samantha to find Gretchen for her. So how she does it is she gets some drawing stuff, a little crayon and then some paper, and Susie tries to draw how Samantha could find her. So basically Samantha finds the paper and she sees that there's squiggly lines, so she's trying to interpret of what this could possibly mean. So there's basically 3 parts to this drawing. And so the first part, it says that it's left on the page, it's a drawing of 2 little girls. So one of them has a ponytail and one has, hair that was, it said that it was flying all over its face. And the one, that, had hair flying all over the face has a mirror, which is very interesting. The second part of the drawing has a vertical line, which it shows, which it describes that it shows the moon over the house, which represents, Susie and Samantha's house. And the last thing is the flying-haired girl walking with a chick. I think you guys know who I'm talking about. Drawing, it says there's like a heavy dark line, which left me very, very confused. So Susie was frustrated that Samantha still wasn't able to figure out what these drawings meant, and she was like, okay, I've had enough, I'm gonna go figure out what this is, and I'm gonna go draw, so I can get Samantha to understand, what these mean. So Samantha later finds these drawings that Susie left for her, and her mom is asking, hey, are you ready for bed? So she decides, okay, I'm not ready yet. So she changes up her sleep schedule, not her sleep schedule, but her nighttime routine, and she grabs a flashlight and puts the flashlight and the papers underneath her bed, so that way she could basically, inspect more of what these drawings are about. It also says that Susie is also the older sister for Samantha, which is very, very interesting. Basically getting more into detail to kind of getting us to thinking. It's basically describing a happy ghost, which is getting us thinking about something, which I found really, really interesting. Chica comes back for Susie, and what's interesting about this is that whenever I guess Susie tries to resist going to Chica, it forced her to go there, which I found interesting, but also odd at the same time too. Basically, she described it like a tractor beam, think of Star Wars whenever the Death Star is luring in the Millennium Falcon. Think of that, but Chica luring Susie to her, which is interesting. So again, Susie goes with Chica for the night, and also that same night Samantha was trying to, interpret what these images are, and she saw this whole glass thing, and she realizes oh yeah, this glass thing, this is from the magnifying glass in my dad's office. She also sees another image on the paper, a floating baby, which she interprets it as the doll. And she's like, yeah, it has to be Gretchen. Also has her flashlight over these images of moons, and she's like, wait, what could these moons mean? Is it the number of moons this thing has, or is it the moons of something of some sort? But then she realizes oh shoot, Susie only has 2 more nights left. Basically what this interprets is that Samantha only has 2 nights left to find Gretchen. So remember earlier when I talked about, Gretchen? Basically, Samantha only has 2 nights left before Susie completely leaves the house. So the next couple of days, Samantha, her main goal right now is to find Gretchen. So basically, Samantha is looking all over the house. She's looking at the pantry, she's looking at the kitchen, she's looking at basically anywhere that she could think of where, the doll could possibly be. And she even also checks her studio for her mom's studio of where possibly maybe Gretchen could be in there. So eventually her mom figures out that Samantha is, going her things, and she's talking to Jeannie about it. And after their little discussion, which this really brought my attention, and it said Jeannie basically told her to just let it go, and it's time to let it all go, which was interesting, very interesting indeed. Okay, so this part is where the climax comes in, and this is just so Chica at noon, she goes to she goes back to the house, to pick up Susie, but instead of, reaching out for her hand, for Susie to come with her, basically, this time, she pushes Susie aside and goes straight for Samantha. So what Chica's trying to do, she's trying to stop Samantha from finding Gretchen. Because I think from whenever I read it, it literally looked like that Chica didn't want Susie to fulfill what she needed to do, which was super interesting. So Chica chases Samantha around the house, and while Chica is doing that, Samantha is still trying to find where the Gretchen doll is. So eventually, Samantha goes into the office and she's like, of course it has to. So she pushes the bookshelves aside, then she pops the wall and she's like, of course, it's the secret room. This is the secret room. And this is also what, what I've been trying to keep in mind. It's like, this is the secret room that they were talking about. So she gets the doll, then this next part, this is where it left me. Oh my gosh, you're gonna have to listen to this. It's like a couple pages long, so it should be fine. Susie watched Samantha hide behind Oliver. Then she turned and waited for Chica to reach the entryway. What would Chica do? How could Susie keep Chica away from Samantha? It turned out she didn't have to. When Chica reached Susie, Chica paused. Chica held out her hand. Susie's hand raised and reached for Chica's, even though that was the last thing she wanted to do. She felt the animatronic metal touch her fingertips. But I'm not ready, Susie told Chica. Chica looked down and her teeth gleamed in the moonlight. Susie shined back. Chica's fingertips gripped Susie's tightly, and Susie couldn't pull them away. When Chica turned, Susie felt herself being dragged from her house. She knew that she had to stop resisting. She had to go along. So she stopped struggling, and she began calmly walking next to Chica. Samantha watched Chica take her sister's hand, and she watched her sister and Chica across the porch, come down the steps and walk toward Oliver. Samantha tensed. What should she do? What could she do? Before she could decide, Chica and Susie disappeared. Not thinking, Samantha screamed, "Wait!" Susie heard her sister scream. Chica didn't pause, but Susie did. However, much Chica was willing to keep her walking, something equally strong was willing her to go back. Caught in the middle, Susie once again couldn't move. "Susie!" Samantha wailed her sister's name. "I have to go back," she said. "I have to." She waited, holding her breath. She felt something shift in the air around her. Chica let go of her hand. Samantha stepped out from behind Oliver and stood next to him. Gretchen dangling from her right hand, tears filled her eyes. She was too late. No. What was that? The leaves near Oliver's trunk swirled up from the ground and then led away from Oliver. The night was so breezy and the wind wasn't going in circles. It also was blowing toward Oliver, not away from him. Samantha looked up at his sole surviving leaf again, and that's when Susie suddenly appeared in front of Oliver. She looked the same way she did. She looked the way she looked that day when she was abducted. Even worn the same clothes, her magenta and pink striped sweater, and the jeans Jeannie had studded with rhinestones. Samantha stared at her sister, then she held out Gretchen. Susie opened her mouth like she wanted to say something, but then she just took the pudgy doll and clutched it to her chest. "I've missed you so much," Samantha said. Susie nodded. She reached out, and Samantha didn't even hesitate. She stepped onto the offered hug. Susie felt as solid as she had when she was alive, maybe even more so. Samantha was never a hugger. She usually only hugged Susie when Susie insisted on a hug. Now she hugged Susie with all of her strength. "I love you," she whispered. She felt a wave of emotion flew over her, like the one she felt in the car. But this one wasn't dark and oily. This one was light, and it was warm and fuzzy. Samantha was pretty sure this wave was a wave of love. Susie let go, and Samantha brushed the tears that ran down her cheeks. Susie smiled, and then toward Chica. Samantha watched Chica take her sister's hand. Then she watched Chica lead Susie and Gretchen away. They disappeared just as Oliver dropped his last leaf. "Goodbye," Samantha whispered. Samantha felt the letting go, and she felt the promise of something new. Susie was leaving, yes, but this wasn't an end. Samantha knew it was a beginning, just like the happy ghost in the story. Susie was going where she could be with her family forever. Oh my goodness. What a chapter, dude. What a chapter. If I had to rate this, definitely 8.5 out of 10. Just saying. From what I've heard, Susie was a spirit with unfinished business. I forgot what the name was, but basically she was a spirit with unfinished business, and her business was getting the doll back. So yeah, I really don't have much to say. I really do not have much to say about that, except that it definitely was a really good bittersweet ending. That ending was just so amazing. But yeah, anyway, let me know what you guys think of this chapter. We're almost done with the book. Well, I mean, we are done with the main parts of the book, but I just need to get to the secret ending and officially done with the whole book. But anyway, you guys, thank you so much for watching. And also let me know if you guys want me to do a double upload of doing the secret chapter. Just let me know down in the comment section below. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.